Day 77 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. We all get hurt, sometimes by a word, sometimes by a promise, sometimes by something unexpectedly small. And when it happens, we often wonder, why does it hurt so much? Is it just a trigger? Sometimes, yes. A moment today can echo an old memory we never fully healed. A tone, a gesture, or a broken word can wake up something tender inside us. But not all pain comes from the past. Sometimes what happened now is simply hurtful. A commitment that didn't stand, a plan that quietly changed without honesty, a promise spoken lightly and forgotten easily. And that doesn't make you dramatic. It doesn't make you oversensitive. It makes you someone who values sincerity. But there is grace in moments like this, because hurt can lead to clarity. It lets you pause and gently ask yourself, where is this pain coming from? Is this moment hurting me or is it something deeper? How can I respond with honesty, not reaction? And maybe the cycle ends with us. We can choose to be the kind of people whose words mean something, people who show up when we say we will, and speak the truth the moment we know it. Because healing isn't just about moving past the pain. Healing is learning to live with integrity in our words, in our actions, and in the way we honor the hearts connected to ours, including our own. Day 78 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. You know, life has moments when everything feels heavy, like the world is loud, chaotic, or spinning faster than we can keep up. Daniel's vision reminds us of something simple but powerful. No matter how strong the darkness looks, it never gets the final word. God's kingdom, God's story, God's victory is still the ending. And Jesus tells us the same thing in the gospel. Not to scare us, but to steady us. Stay awake, guard your heart, don't let the worries of life weigh you down. Because honestly, that's where most battles happen, inside our own hearts. When stress piles up, when worries drain us, when we get tired and want to check out or numb ourselves. Jesus isn't asking us to be perfect, just present, just prayerful, just a little more awake today than yesterday. And the canticle reminds us to praise, not because everything is okay, but because we trust that God is working even when we can't see it. So as we move into a new chapter, may we live lighter, notice God more, and choose faith over fear. Lord, keep my heart awake, my spirit steady, and my life rooted in you. Amen. Day 79 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. Living with peace isn't about escaping life's noise or pretending everything is perfect. It begins quietly inside our own hearts. It means being aware of what we allow to take root in our minds, our thoughts, our choices. To live with peace, I try to guard my heart. I notice my thoughts, the stories I tell myself, and the actions I take. I ask, does this choice bring kindness? Does this thought nurture goodness? Peace grows when I choose gently, consistently, and intentionally. When I respond with patience instead of reaction, when I pause before acting, when I offer love even in small ways. It's not about being flawless. It's about creating a space where goodness can thrive. And as I guard my heart and mind, I discover that peace isn't something I wait for. It's something I choose, moment by moment, inside the life I've been given. Amen. Day 80 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. Sometimes God sends reminders through the most unexpected people. In today's Gospel, it wasn't a prophet, not a disciple, not a holy leader. It was a Roman centurion, a man who didn't even feel worthy, who showed the greatest faith Jesus had seen. And maybe that's the line that stays with me. Lord, I am not worthy, but only say the word. A simple sentence, yet big enough to move heaven. It makes me think we've welcomed Jesus through baptism, prayer, and so many moments of grace. But is my heart still open the way the centurion's was? because his miracle didn't come from being perfect. It came from having space in his heart, space for God and space for someone who needed help. Lord, thank you for reminding me that you never asked for a perfect heart, only an open one. Teach me to open my heart again, to believe when I'm tired, to trust when I'm uncertain, to love even when it feels easier to close off, and to make room for you in the quiet places of my life. Amen. Day 81 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. Last night I had a dream. I was helping others quietly, consistently, just doing what needed to be done. But after a while, an ache rose in my chest. Not a deep hurt, just a small sting of feeling unnoticed. Then the dream shifted. My partner appeared walking toward me with that warm, familiar smile, and suddenly the ache in my heart flipped into joy. It felt like God's gentle reminder: even when others don't see what you give, I do, and someone beside you does too. This morning, during meditation, a phrase suddenly popped in my mind: the least, the lost, and the last. It echoed the dream, it echoed the readings, and it echoed something forming quietly inside me. Maybe it's a direction, an invitation to one day build a community rooted in care, dignity, and hope. Day 82 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. Sometimes I wonder why the world has rich and poor. And the more I think about it, the more I realize it's not just about money, it's about the heart. People are born into different stories. Some have more opportunities, some have almost none. Some rise because of their choices, some fall because life was simply hard. The world has never been fair, not even 2,000 years ago. But maybe the deeper truth is this: whether you have a lot or a little, if your heart is empty, you will always feel the need for more. And if your heart is grounded in trust, gratitude, and God's presence, even small things can feel like abundance. Rich or poor, God looks at the heart, because wealth doesn't guarantee peace, and poverty doesn't erase dignity. Both situations teach us something. The rich are invited to generosity, and the poor are invited to trust. Not because God favors one over the other, but because He meets each of us exactly where we are. Maybe that's the message today. God sees your needs, He knows your limits, and He can multiply whatever little you offer. Because the real richness of life is not what you hold in your hands, but what you hold in your heart. Lord, teach me to trust you in every season. Amen. Day 83 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. When Jesus says, "Be ready, for you do not know the hour," He isn't telling us to live in fear. He's inviting us to live with intention, to build our lives on something solid, something real. And today, being ready doesn't look dramatic. It looks like the quiet choices we make every day. Choosing honesty when it would be easier to pretend. Choosing patience when irritation feels justified. Choosing kindness when no one is watching. Being ready means we stay spiritually awake, even in a world that constantly distracts us. Screens, work, pressure, comparison, even good things like Christmas preparations. It means remembering what truly matters and not letting our hearts fall asleep. And how do we know if we're building on a rock or sand? Rock is choosing God again and again, not perfectly, but faithfully. Sand is living on autopilot, drifting, distracted, comfortable, but spiritually numb. The Lord simply asks this: let me shape your heart, let me steady your steps, let me be your foundation, so that whenever I come, whether at the world's end or at the end of your own journey, your heart is already with me. Amen. Day 84 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. Today I'm reminded of something simple but deep. My heart's real desire is not just to receive blessings from God, but to stay close to Him. The Psalm says, "One thing I ask, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord, and behold His beauty." It's a reminder that the greatest gift is not what God gives, but God Himself. Sometimes I want to share every good thing that happens, but maybe God invites me first to pause, to hold the blessing quietly, and let Him teach me what it really means. Because a blessing is more than a story to tell, it's a personal encounter with His love. And just like the blind man in the Gospel, Jesus asked me the same question. Do you believe I can do this? Not are you worthy, not are you strong, just do you believe? Today I remind myself, I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. I will wait for Him with courage, and I will love not just the blessing, but the God who gives it. Amen. Day 85 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. I'm learning something about myself, and it's not always easy to admit. Sometimes when other people's reactions or complaints bother me, it's not just about them. It's touching something tender inside me, something I haven't fully healed or understood yet. And instead of seeing it as a fault in them, I'm trying to see it as an invitation for me. A moment to pause and ask, why does this affect me so much? What is this waking up inside me? I'm realizing that we all carry old wounds, old fears, and old patterns. We all react sometimes. We all get triggered. No one is above that, not even me. So I'm trying to meet myself with gentleness, not judgment, not pride, just honesty. Because the real inner work isn't about changing other people. It's about noticing what rises within my own heart and letting God teach me through it. And slowly, moment by moment, I'm learning how to respond with more awareness, more patience, more compassion for others and for myself. It's not perfect, I'm not perfect, but maybe this is how God softens us through the very moments that challenge us the most. Day 86 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. As the days move quickly toward Christmas, I'm starting to notice how easy it is to get swept up in the rush, the plans, the excitement, the noise. But today's readings feel like a quiet break, a gentle reminder to pause and ask myself, how is my heart really? Isaiah offers a vision of deep peace, a world made whole again, and John the Baptist appears not as a harsh voice, but as someone who lived simply, with nothing blocking him from welcoming God. Maybe that's the invitation for me too, to notice the small things in my life that clutter my heart or pull me away from what matters. When John speaks of making the path straight, it doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like an inner nudge. What in me needs clearing? What habits, hurts, or patterns keep me from feeling grounded and open? Advent isn't about doing everything right. It's about honesty, a little more quiet, a little more room inside for peace to settle. So today, I just want to slow down, to breathe, to look inward with gentleness, and to prepare the space where God's presence wants to rest, my own heart. Day 87 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. Today's readings help me understand something I've been feeling in my own heart. In Genesis, Adam and Eve falter. They're afraid, they hide, they blame others, and yet God doesn't walk away. He searches for them and asks, where are you? Not to condemn them, but to call them back. The psalm reminds me that even when we fail, God stays faithful. His love doesn't shrink because we fall short. His goodness continues even through our weakness. Ephesians says that before the world was made, God had already chosen us, already loved us, already wanted us as His own. Grace was His plan from the very beginning. And then the Gospel shows Mary, also human, also afraid, but open enough to say, let it be done to me. Her yes becomes the beginning of healing for everything that went wrong in Eden. And maybe that's where my heart connects today, because I falter too. I feel fear, envy, insecurity, and sometimes it's hard to choose God. Sometimes it's hard to understand His love. But today reminds me God doesn't stop coming toward us. Grace begins where my strength ends. And every time I pray, Lord, guard my heart, help me, I'm already saying my own small version of Mary's yes. Not perfect, but real, and God can work with that. Day 88 of my 200 Days Mass Challenge. You know, we all love the story of the lost sheep, the shepherd leaving the 99 to find the one who wandered. But today I realized something humbling. Most of us want to believe we're part of the 99, the good ones, the steady ones, the ones who don't get lost. But if we're honest, we've all been the lost sheep. Not once, but many times. Lost in fear, lost in comparison, lost in disappointment, lost in pretending we're strong, lost in trying to keep everything together. And every single time, God finds a way to bring us back through a person, a moment, a quiet whisper of truth. When we forget our own lostness, we become quick to judge others. But when we remember how many times we've been carried home, our hearts soften. We gossip less, we understand more, we judge slower, we become gentler with people who are still finding their way. Maybe that's the message today. We don't need to be perfect sheep, just honest ones. Because a flock that remembers its own wandering will always have compassion for the one who's struggling.